Okie dokie. Had a fucking interview for another job at my job. And that was fucking scary. So I had to do a fucking presentation in the damn interview today. Which means that I had to spend like 6 hours looking at data and shit yesterday. Which means, unfortunately, I didn't have time for programming. And my sleep was fucked. So GG, but we continue because I ain't no bitch. VR king, baby. Alright. Naming type aliases. So last time in C++ we learned get lol function action going. What do we want to do? We could just do like, ooh, that could be kind of interesting. If we include input and output, just because we need output, and then we also get standard string. I need to say why I need it. Need standard string. That way everything is defined, and you're asking why this code is in here. Motherfucker, this is why. I'm not gonna just put shit in there and then you're like, oh, this why. I don't want you to have to read all my shit to figure it out. Just read the fucking comment, bro. It makes sense. So we're gonna do type actually we're not doing typedef yet. We're about to do that apparently. Naming type aliases, and there's like some typedef shit later on. I don't know how that works. But we can do using, not using namespace to get shorthand access and avoid having to resolve scope for things in a namespace. Like if we do standard, then we can just do character output. But in this case, we do using. We're gonna assign standard string to be whatever we want to call it. Let's just, is string a thing? Maybe, I don't think it is. So we can do standard string. So we're using string to be standard string, and then we'll just say string name is Ethan. And then output name. Okie dokie. Cool. And then I can just output my name. And we have a what do we just call it? A type alias via the using operator. Okay. And I mean, so far that's all we've done. So we could take, what, how is this? I don't know how this is useful just yet. I mean, I guess you could do it for shorthand. So I mean, well, it's hard though, because you gotta watch out for conflicts. Because if we did, well, actually, maybe that's okay. You do string. It could be good for shorthand. That way we're not compiling anything extra from the header, or from the library. Trying to see. I'm kind of blanking on exactly how the using directives and declarations work. Where we've already included input and output stream, IO stream. Do I actually, yeah. So I've included that header file, which means I've included a part of the standard namespace that includes input and output streams. Which means if I just do using namespace standard, what does that mean? Does it mean that it's like it's bringing all of those things into the current scope, like it's defining everything in that line. So where I say using namespace standard, it takes everything, all the definitions, I guess, and puts them there in that scope. That way, within that scope, I can just use things as they are. I don't have to resolve it by saying standard character output. I can just say character output, because we have included that piece of the namespace in this scope. So I don't know, I kind of lost train of thought there. GG's. What were they even trying to say? I guess I was comparing the shorthand. Like, maybe it's more intensive if we did use it. Well, I mean, I could just do using standard character output. We don't have to do fucking using namespace standard. But I mean, you could probably do the same thing. You could do an alias just to type it a different way, and then the compiler just uses that using substitution type alias, and it just substitutes that for the proper thing. It seems like that's probably the same thing as just doing the using directive, but instead we're defining it to be something else. So if like I wanted to use standard character, well, this was for types. I think standard character output is a type, or it's like an maybe I don't know if it's one. It might be just one object actually. That's probably what it is. But for types, so this is a different way of doing it, but for types. So we can say using this instead of that type. Like instead of oh, so maybe at least for like data analysis, or maybe like character, or maybe it turns out that we need enough data, a large enough integer, to quantify the size of a character. And so we could do like, let's just say it's pounds. You could have mini characters that only go up to 8 bits, so they only go up to 8 bits, so they only go up to whatever, like 63, something like that. Let's see, or sorry, what was it, 127 for that actually? Yeah, it is 127. So 127, but then we have larger and larger and larger. If for some reasons we didn't want to do, oh, this is an int 8, this is an int 16, this is an int 32, we could say using size 1 is int 8 t, and then size 2 is this, and then size 3 is this. That way we can just distinguish between different sizes of characters, or maybe maybe it's like pounds of a building, or pounds of things in the world. So maybe there are like, I'm trying to see. Or we could say kilograms. So we could say it's the amount of the integer is the amount of kilograms of a thing. So size 1 would be like people and small animals, or up to 127 kilograms, which is all human-sized people. So what is that? It's almost, what is it, 127 kilograms? So we're trending towards like 340, 400 pounds, something like that. So we're encompassing the vast majority of humans. We also have probably the probably most animals are under 340, I'd say. Maybe like different types of all the different species, most are probably under that. But then you could have size 2. It's like a uint 16. And this is all the way up to like 16,000 pounds or something like that. Let's say it's 8 tons. I don't know how heavy an elephant is. Is an elephant that heavy? Maybe it's half that, 4 tons or something, or just a couple tons. I think cows can be like a ton or something, right? So an elephant surely could be 3 times more dense, fucking thick, tall, huge. Maybe a hippo's a ton or 2. So we could say size 2 are those. And then, or cars, small vehicles, and large animals. And then size 3, or class 3, whatever we want to call it. We probably wouldn't want to say class because that's already a keyword. Using class, and there's a conflict. We can't define classes later. There's probably a compiler error maybe. Excuse me, I'll test that in a second. I'll test it in a second. And then size 3 would be an int 32, where we have big ass shit, because this probably gets into the millions of kilograms. So we're talking giant, fucking huge buildings, massive vehicles that are millions of pounds and hundreds, if not thousands of tons. Yeah, because a ton is 2,000 pounds, and 1,000 wait, really? 1,000? Oh, 1,000 thousands is a million. So yeah, we're talking millions of pounds here. Millions of, well, yeah, multiple millions of pounds for sure. So, well, actually, yeah, because it's millions. So, because that's just a regular 4-byte int. So we're talking 8, a 16, and a 32, and we could just define them as size 1, 2, and 3. And somebody later on in a handoff in my code could just be defining future creatures and whatnot as their sizes without having to worry about what the actual sizes are. Oh, this one's a uint 8, whatever. Well, it's because you can't have a higher number of pounds or of kilograms for a size 1. That's why it has to be size 1. That's why it has to be a uint 8, an int 8, and then same for the rest. I think that probably makes sense. We would want to substitute it. So if we have like complex types, or I mean, I could probably do the same thing with any type, right? That could probably be objects as well. So we could do include random, and then IOStream because we need standard character output. We need random because we need standard Mersenne twister. So we could do using random or oh, this is the naming convention is all caps. Random num getter, whatever. Let's just say using random num getter as standard Mersenne twister, and then we could just say random num getter. What if? Okay, so all these keywords do happen. I was wondering if int or float or oops, or long double, these kind of things. Double, long, double. Oh, because it's qualifying, the ID isn't, the IntelliSense isn't continually populating. So we could just now say random num getter, oops, num getter, and we'll just call it this one. Well, I mean, we probably don't want to create a bunch of different Mersenne twisters because they all do basically the same thing. But maybe we seed them differently. So we'll just call it seed generator, and then whatever we can seed it as blank for now. Fuck it, and then we could just do standard character output, seed generator. Boom. Cool. So we've created, or we have made a using type alias from standard Mersenne twister to random num getter. So now we can use random num getter, and the compiler will see this and say, hey, all instances of random num getter, replace it with this. It seems like it's probably similar, maybe more wieldy than a preprocessor directive, or maybe we don't always want to do it because well, it seems like there's some overlap between it and like a preprocessor directive where we're defining couldn't I do the same thing? Random num getter as standard Mersenne twister like this. It's not a statement, so we don't need a semicolon. And then using qualified name is not allowed. Wait, what is this? 8? Using random num getter? What are you talking about? Oh, so it was cool. There was just a conflict there. So now we could say this. And we can do it the same way, actually, by defining random num getter as that. And then we could do other stuff. We could be like, oh, if defined, or stop defining it here, or something like that. So we could have, like, scope that defines this in here. And maybe this doesn't trigger. What the fuck? Okay. And maybe this doesn't trigger unless we do this. And then something happens, and then this is still defined for the rest of the file, actually, so we need to do... And really, I think it'll happen regardless, actually. Well, not sure. We have it within scope. Maybe it will. Yeah, probably it will. Well, what if we... we don't enter a block. Well, yeah, so what if we just say int x is 3, and then we could say if x is less than 2, or is less than 4. Fuck it, we'll just say if x is 3, okay? We want this to happen. Else, we want this to happen. And in this, we define random num getter as, or we could just say thing int. And then we could say or undefined thing. Is that how that works? I think that probably makes sense. And then we could say thing x and whatever, it's 3. And then we output x. Okay. And then this part only triggers here. Or yeah, actually, so we would do the undefined thing here. And so we say we're defining it within this scope, but I don't think it's actually limited to that scope. I think I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I think the preprocessor might just go and look through and define it. I don't know. I'm interested to see how this shakes out. And then I could say here, thing y is 4, and then, oops, y. Okay. Declaration of x hides the previous local. What are you talking about? Oh, x. Oops. Let's just say z. Got some shadowing action going. So if we do this, it outputs that. But if we do 4, and we just examine the execution flow here. Whoops, wrong thing. This doesn't occur, therefore it skips. Yeah, so the preprocessor is totally its own thing that happens before compilation. So it says, hey, define this shit. We can have other conditions for it, but all this syntax, block scope, none of that matters here. We're saying that at some point we're defining this, and in this range it is valid. And in code, you don't have to execute this. This executes beforehand, actually. This is just saying that this is valid. So the whole point of that was saying that we could do using whatever thing or thing for int, and we could have that within block scope somewhere. Or what we could do is we could just define thing1 int, and then later on undefined thing1. What? Oh, oops. Using thing, and then we have to actually assign it something. And so we could do these in 2 different ways. I think using is better here because we don't have to explicitly undefine it. So yeah, I guess using is like a way of including preprocessor directives, or what was it? It's like object-like substitution, something like that, in our execution flow, where we don't have to explicitly undefine it. We just say, hey, the using directive or the using type alias ends at the end of the scope in which it was executed, or in which it exists. Okay. Seems like it could be helpful. I don't have many use cases for like when I would actually want to rename something, but maybe it is just more convenient than doing standard Merson Twister. Maybe it's more convenient than having to do using standard character output. Well, we could just do using standard character output. I mean, it doesn't seem too hard. And then that ends at the end of scope 2. So it seems like it's just when we're trying to rename it to make it a custom name. But we can't create any unique types or anything yet. It's all still, thing is still just an integer. A random num getter is still just a Merson Twister. That's all it is. I'm gonna go to sleep early to get my stamina back, I think. I'm gonna update this so that it's 2 hours. And at the end, I might increase, but I'm feeling it. And so far, when I'm listening to my body and I'm just doing things maintainable, I think that's the strat. I think that makes the most sense. So, learning enough each day. I mean, it's good enough progress, I think, at this point. I need to try and stay consistent with doing other things over the weekend too. Like, sure, I'm playing some games and stuff here, and the Death Stranding is really good, but I need to solder some stuff and get my Project Extrasensory up into phase 2, where we have 2 different buildings, and if you go in and out of one, it will turn on and off one scent diffuser, and if you go into another building, it will turn off another. That way, we don't just have one thing that turns on and off. We actually have 2 separate ones. That way, we could line up as many as you wanted and have different scents going for different things. And you would just have, excuse me, a volume collision thing, where when you enter that, it calls an event that sends a signal to the Arduino, and that powers the atomizer. So let me update my alarm real quick. So I'll do 40 more minutes of the learning, and then we'll go. That way I'm not cutting away from how much I'm testing. Okay. Today I want to at least do an hour of both. An hour of learning and an hour of self-testing to lock everything else in. Like, wow, testing is so fucking helpful, man. Holy shit. Just remembering all the bit set stuff and how to print them and what to do is nice. Knowing how to assign them. I didn't ask for that. I didn't have to go and look back into the details. I just did that and then said, ah, fuck, man. I can't remember. How do I do this? And then doing it the next day. Oh, that's nice. It's like even if I keep getting the answer wrong taking a test, I don't even know that you have to be exposed to information a time to learn it. You can just take tests on information, and if you eventually, if as long as the questions and the answers are giving you foundational truth as knowledge, like if you really need to memorize gravity, or you just need to know what the hell gravity is and what is affected by gravity in the world, and that it's whatever, this collection of mass in an area, and as more mass is concentrated, a stronger field somehow is emitted, or other things around it are drawn more towards it. The force between objects increases in the direction of the more massive object, but I guess they both technically pull each other. You could have something like that as the question answer for what is gravity. What the fuck is gravity, bro? And what's going on? And you try and answer that question and you fail. You've never heard of gravity or anything. But then you see the answer and then you think about it. And then the next day you get the test again and it's the same question and you rehash and say some of that stuff. Well, maybe memorization isn't an awesome fucking thing. I think it's actually, I think it is awesome. One, it's cool to me when professors and other people are like, hey, yeah, this guy came up with this in this era and this year. And in this year, he met this guy and they fucking collaborated and did this and that. Just people who have memories like that, or at least lock it. I think it's not that their memory is better than mine or other people. It's just that they've exposed themselves to the information so many times and corrected themselves so many times to where it's finally, boom. Yes, to update the 3rd bit, not the last bit of a 4-bit bit set. It's not like a regular index thing where it's 0, 1, 2, 3. It's actually 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we want to update the 3rd bit, the first one, we actually have to left shift 1. That way we can move it over and have a 0 before it, another 0 before it, another 0, 0, 0, 1 in order to finally target this 3rd bit. And then we can turn it on, turn it off. And I didn't have to go and look back in the information. I mean, sure, I learned it before, but I could not remember really what it was. So. Oh, fuck, that's the hard part. My brain is active when I close my eyes and I'm thinking like this. But when I open my eyes, just the tiredness sets in. Whenever I just get more tired. Okay. Ooh. And once I remedy my iron deficiency and my breath is back to normal, because it turns out I think it's iron, then I can get back on the caffeine maxing maybe. Alright, I'm not as tired if I'm not opening the other eye. My right eye makes me tired. Alright. The naming type aliases. Oh yeah, actually this is already where we were. It was already... There are different ones. We were ending it with T for type. Yes, we were entering it in literally underscore type, which is fucking crazy. To name nested type aliases. Oh. Nested. Oh, meaning a type alias that's within something. So it's not string and then size. It's string. Oh. Well, yeah. It's not string and then size. Because this guy's nested within a namespace, it is size type. Whereas, yeah, so there's the standard library, there's this, and there's other. In global scope, so not within a namespace, we have underscore T. But for nested guys that are within some sort of other namespace, some sort of other scope that we're resolving, here, two scopes, standard and string. Inside string, which is inside standard, is the size type. And size type is something specific, maybe. So maybe there's something deeper in there. Well, let's see. Type aliases. So these are all type aliases? Does that mean that they're actually named something else and then they rename it to be size T? Like, in reality, it is... What? Just an unsigned int or something? Or, well, yeah, like if I do... unsigned long. So instead of having to do unsigned long, or a u int 64, or oops, well, I could just do this. So, C standard int. We do u int 64t, and then whatever. But if I don't want to call it a u int 64t, we can just say it's using big ass number u int 64t. Boom. Now we can make big ass. Wait, what? Hello? Oh, well, we didn't fucking assign it. This isn't a damn preprocessor directive. We actually assign it what the type is, and then we can make a big ass number x, and then fucking some huge ass number. Whatever the hell, something quadrillion. God's number. Okay. Oh my god. Alright, I just have to keep both eyes open. This is crazy. Alright. Fallen out of favor in modern C++. Oh! Used to be. Oh, they're talking about underscore T. POSIX reserves that. So it's a type of operating system that has underscore T. So if you name stuff that and you use the alias, a type alias. Is that what we're calling these? Type aliases? Yeah. If we name a type alias something underscore T and it's on that system where all the shit's already underscore T, which you could also say is still the same here, but maybe regular data types, like it's just int underscore T or other underscore T's, well, you're going to have some conflictions here if you name something that already exists. And maybe they have a bunch of other shorthands, like a size type or a size T instead of a unsigned long. Instead of an unsigned long, maybe there's something else that you're like, fuck, man, I wanted to make a size of something. Like for this class, there's a size T, but if I call it a size T, then I'm screwed in some way. And maybe in some context it makes sense to refer to things in some way and different in another, kind of like a code name or a nickname or something. So like maybe we reserve different integer sizes. We call them size 1, 2, and 3 in some context. But in another one, maybe we refer to them just normally, nothing. But then a different one, maybe we have them broken down even more granularly. Or many do not, so it's also inconsistent. Oh, great! That's awesome. It's not also always the case that underscore type is used for nested types, type aliases. Yeah, because this is string still here. Nice. Then there are type aliases that use no suffix. Capital letter, no suffix. Yeah, makes sense. Prevents naming collisions with other existing shit except, I mean, what? Maybe a namespace? What happens if we say that? If we say, is it like an identifier overload for like a function where if the parameters are different because it's a namespace versus something else, they're different? Like if we say, oh, well that's why. It's because namespaces are in global scope. They have to be available immediately. If we're in main, oh, we're cooked here. Yeah. You're cooked. But if we do it here, then we're cool. It has to be available to the compiler straight away, not nested within some sort of function. It has to be available in global scope. Yep, so we only have to worry about functions and variables, because those are defined within functions, which is where we're using the type alias, unless you can do it globally. Oh, okay. So we're talking about print distance is the function. So we have the standard, whatever you call, I guess it's camel case, but there's some camel case or snake. Oh, not snake case. I think that one looks stupid. I don't remember what it looks like, but wasn't it just alternating or something? So we got print distance as the function, and then distance is the type, and then distance is the parameter number. Yeah, so distance is the type, distance is, well, not fucking number, name of the parameter, bro. Identifier. It's the identifier of the parameter, and it is case sensitive, so we're cool. Gotcha. Yeah, and if we said distance, then it would see distance is already existing for something. Just like we could totally say using x is int, and then we create in x called y and make him 5. So it's saying, hey, you have y is an x. What is an x? An x is an integer. So y is an integer, and it gets the value 5. But if later on I say, in the same scope where x is an integer, and we say define an integer as x, then it'll say it's seeing basically integer, and the error might be func. Like, what happens if I do that? Yeah, no combination of type specifiers, buddy. GG. That doesn't exist. There's no type called an int. Nor is there a type called, well, yeah, in that case it'd be an int. We'd have x that's actually an int, but if we said int x, it would be seeing int, x is an int, so it's int. Okay. Capital letter, no suffix. Cool. Thanks, man. Type aliases are not. Yes, we know that they're not distinct types. They are just other ways of referencing an existing type. So you could say using x and assign it int, and you can still totally use int, but you can now also use an x to define a number. Because whatever, that's what you want to call them. Maybe in some context we're talking about heroes, in some other context we're talking about villains. So in one context, we define our character object class, I guess we'd say class. Is an object, it seems like it's an instance that exists. It's an instantiation of a class, a piece of it that actually exists in the world. Just like a physical thing is an instantiation of an idea, we've actually made it happen. So we could have character and assign villain to be character in one context, but in another scope, we assign hero to be character. That way we say hero, this guy's name, and then villain, this guy's name. And that helps make it so that we don't have to track, oh, these are all the villains, these are all the heroes separately. I mean, it probably still makes sense to just say, yo, what are they all? They're all fucking characters. Here's a namespace for the heroes. Here's a namespace for the villains. Cool. We don't have to worry about using character, whatever. But maybe it improves clarity. I haven't used it deep enough to know. Like, if I'm thinking about, I was thinking about the cases where we're getting the type of class that the user is choosing for like a fantasy character, like a wizard or a warlock or whatever, and those variables are a standard string. So maybe, I mean, you could define it to be like class name and then whatever. So class name, user class, or well, class name wouldn't even make sense. That's just the type of data. That should still be a standard string. That's the name, a string of the class. Yep, the alias is completely interchangeable. Cool. Oh, motherfucker, I can't go to sleep early. I have fucking groceries coming. Oh no. Oh wait, but maybe they come early. I think they're coming from 9 to 11. Let me get my phone really fast just to put it on here because I accidentally left groceries out for like an hour and a half one of the last time. Cool. Alright. So I'll do this, and in a second the groceries are here. Dude, I'm storing them. I'll get shampoo going. I'll have fucking pork and stuff. I'll have iron supplement, and I'll be golden. Take 10 iron supplements a day. 32 or 3,200% daily value. Yes, it's just a new identifier for an existing. Yes, makes sense. It's interchangeable. Yeah, yeah. Syntactically valid but semantically meaningless. Meaning that we could say miles and speed. Miles is long, but a speed is also long. Then we could say miles, and we call it distance. And then we could have speed, millihertz, but we're just saying that there's a long called distance and a long called millihertz. What's the fucking point of having them separate? I mean, syntactically valid but semantically meaningless. Well, yeah. In this case, well, we could assign. In this case we can assign millihertz to distance because there's no conversion here. They're the same fucking data type, so there isn't even a numeric. Yeah, there's no promotion nor numeric conversion. They're both longs. I mean, both are just yeah. Okay. We tend them to have distinct meanings. So like a distance versus a velocity, or at least speed has direction too. Yep. Miles, speed, and long can all be used interchangeably. Yes. Indeed, when we assign a value of speed to a variable type miles, The compiler only sees that we're assigning a value of type long to long. Yes, exactly. And a lot of time when I'm reading this stuff out, I'm reading out what I'm guessing, basically like a fucking AI, what the next token is, and I say yes a lot because it turns out that the shit that I'm guessing is the same. So yes, in this case, miles, distance are just both aliases for long. Therefore, they and long can all three be used interchangeably. Now I need a fan because it's fucking hot. Damn. I had an urge to play a game for a second instead, but if I can play a game, I'm awake enough to use my brain, which means I'm awake enough to fucking learn. Let's get it. Yeah. So this is all fine. The compiler doesn't give a fuck. It says, "Hey yo, miles is long. Hey yo, distance is speed is long." You're just fucking assigning different words of this shit. It's all the same. I see you assigning a value to a long, another value to a long, and you're using them, but there's nothing actually useful about them, at least to the compiler. The compiler just has extra code in here. These are all just little things to make maybe the meaning more clear. Yes, and it sees that we're assigning value of long too long when we're trying to assign to do millihertz. Why is this speed image? I don't even know. Mile highway zone or something? Yeah, it will not complain. And it won't prevent it because the... What am I hearing? Did I just hear a knock on the door? I might be tripping. I think it's the ice maker. I think I'm good. Okay. Yeah, there's nothing actually being created. There's no unique type. So it's not gonna be like, hey, by the way, buddy, distance traveled should be different than the speed. So maybe they have whatever, different precision or something else. Something you've got. They're not compatible with each other. Don't set them equal to each other. If you're assigning this based on this, you don't want to be doing that. Like, oh hey, you have an integer. By the way, you're assigning it a float value. Is that okay? We can confirm. We can explicitly cast from distance to get the same value as a speed. Or miles as a speed, or whatever, or distance as millihertz, or something like this to convert. But there's nothing actually doing the checking for us. So it's, sure, syntactically valid, but also syntactically risky if we're trying to do different things later. Because like in my context earlier, if we had two different scopes and we had villain defined as a standard string for some people, and then we had hero defined somewhere else for others, well, it's not particularly useful. It is the ice maker. If it muddles the water, and if later on we try and assign a villain to a character, maybe I want them to be exclusive. Like maybe villains have specific traits that the heroes don't have. So maybe the villains have a villain bar, and the villains are the people you're fighting, and you're the hero by default. And the villains have whatever. Like when they take so much damage, they enter a different phase. So the villains have a phase, and maybe that's a piece of it. Now we have like something that should be more of, at least what I would think, is a class, where it has these separate little pieces in it. Or maybe it's at least a struct. I don't know how to make structs yet. I think we do typedef struct something else and then we name it. But I'm not sure. So renaming things may be useful in a context, but it seems like maybe not. It seems like it could be good for shorthand, like saying, oh, I don't want to fucking do standard Merson twister if I have to make a bunch of standard Merson twisters. But I could just as easily, I'm already including the header file so that I can use the thing in the first place to get the object's definition and scope, but, or at least the class, I guess, if we're creating an object of it. I may as well just do using standard Merson twister, and then we're good. And isn't that exactly how it would look? I was scratching top of my freaking butt. Now my fingers are sore, dude. That butt itch. You're like standing up peeing or something, and then you just like have to itch your butt. And So we do include random, need standard Merson twister. But then we say, what was I doing? I was gonna say using, what was the purpose here? What was the purpose? Not just a type alias for Merson twister. I thought I was cooking for a second. Oh yeah, just doing a using directive or declaration in this case. So we could just say using standard Merson twister. And then we could just say Merson twister, whatever the fuck. My twister, this, and then whatever. Boom. Okay. So we can still totally do that, and that probably makes the most sense here. If we want to just use something in shorthand, we'll just get the shorthand. But if we want to name it something specific, I mean, we could do that too. Don't mix values of aliases. They're supposed to be semantically distinct. Excuse me. If we are assigning a character's age to be weight, even though age and weight are both integer aliases, or aliases for integer, we should have something checking, hey, by the way, you are assigning this guy's age to be his weight. Do you want to do that? And there's no check for this like that. A strong typedef actually creates a new type that has all the properties, but it will throw, oh, so you could say typedef long, typedef, or typedef villain standard string, typedef hero standard string, and then later on when I'm trying to assign the values of a hero to a villain, it'll say, hey, hey, hey. Yeah, I know, technically these are both standard strings, but I think that they're actually different enough and unique enough. I am thinking that they are strongly defined so that they can't just replace each other and be involved. They cannot. I will error out or warning out or something like that. Yeah, it'll throw an error if you try and mix them. That is cool. Doesn't support strong typedefs. So enum classes could be similar. No idea what the fuck that means. Scoped enum, and I learned those soon too. What the hell? 3 chapters away. This is intimidating. There are quite a few third-party Superplus libraries that implement strong typedef-like behavior. Okay. So some other languages, what is that? C maybe? In default C that we do a regular ass little, hey, by the way, you're now called this. Oh, by the way, the same fucking type is called something else. And now we can't mix them because they're treated as their own distinct types. Oh my god, I'm getting fucking tired. Scope of a type alias. Scope is a property of an identifier. Type aliases follow the same scoping rules. Scope. Yes, exactly. We've already seen this. Oh. Yeah, so we could say, if you wanted to do this somewhere else, we say, hey, I have a whole bunch of files and I want to refer to this long ass character or this long ass name, standard string, maximum, something type. I just want to call it the fucking name. So we say, hey, in this header file that I'm already including in everything, or just a unique header file, which I can include in every other file, it has header guard to make sure that it's not including the shit twice and that we're not doing the type alias multiple times because it's already been done once. I want to check out what the errors say, take a guess about what they are too. Now we can include that in multiple files, and in multiple files we can now refer to the crazy ass maximum standard string kind of thing as just name. And I don't have to do this, put in this using in every single one. I just have to include the same file in all of them, and then we're good. And that's it. Yes, and we already checked out how the scope works. The type alias defined inside a block has a block scope. Cool. In the global namespace, it has global scope. Oh! I'm trying to see. I don't think there's memory. Is there memory anywhere actually being allocated to this? We don't have an object that we're storing anywhere. We just have another data type. So it seems like it's global scope, but we probably need to. I don't know how that works exactly. Is it global scope? Well, and it's usable to the end of the file. Yes. Cool. But it's to the end of the file. It's not automatically usable within other files because we don't have an object that's defined somewhere or a function that's defined somewhere. So maybe it's not the case that the linker will pull definitions. Dude, my fucking lower back is itching so much. Oh, why? Everything. There's a tiny little bit of acne on my back too, or something. Or not even acne, but like little whiteheads that you can just scratch out. Everything is itchy right now. Miles and speed are only usable in the main function. Yes, because those were, I guess we'd say, defined as type aliases within main. Yes, it makes sense. If we want to use it in multiple, they can be defined in a header file and included into it. Yeah, so if we include it here, then it gets included before main or before any implementations going on, which means that all the other places in there can access it. Because any namespaces are in global scope, which means that if we include this into global scope, then all namespaces, as long as it sees these in that file and the compiler is cool and sees that they're valid, and we're not storing anything anywhere, so there's no name confliction or one definition rule because we're not defining it somewhere. We're just creating a little alias, just like a preprocessor directive. It's only important for this file, but we can include it in different files to make things easier. And it is subject to scoping rules too. So I could include it in different spots. We'll have global scope, yes. Typedef, here we go. Is an older way of creating. I'm guessing that there's some red. Oh, there's not a red. Oh, wait, yeah, yeah, it is. Okay, I thought it was gonna be red saying do not prefer typedefs, or well, I guess that would be stupid, but don't use typedefs. But it was the same thing, but in an opposite color. Instead, it's green, and it's prefer type aliases over typedefs. Short for type definition is an older way of doing it. Oh, and it's the same as a preprocessor directive. To create a typedef, we use the typedef keyword, largely replaced. Syntactical issues, it's easy to forget whether the name of the typedef or the type comes first. Oh. Oh. So it's the opposite. So for a type alias, we say nickname is assigned the thing. But here we say double is now distance. That's the aliased name. So this alias gets the type of this aliased guy. But in this case, it is the alias guy is now defined as something else. So instead of it being, hey, I'm using this for this guy, it's now I'm defining this guy as this guy. It's the same thing, it's just in reverse. Okay. It's easy to get backwards. The compiler will complain. Well, yeah, if we're type defining the nickname as something else, it'd be like, bro, the nickname does not exist as a type, buddy. I wonder though if we did a using and then we type defined that to be something else, what would happen? So if we did, oh, I typed right, and we had using thing for thing, and is assigned to be the type int, and then we type def thing to be whack my whack. Oh shit. Oh wait. Yeah. So it all comes down to the same thing. It's all just creating a nickname for a type. So I can create a nickname for a type, and then I can have a nickname of that nickname. And now I could do using test, and it gets whack. And now test x is for an x. All these different things are just fucking integers, which shit compiles instantly. It's all just, there's an integer that we're calling a thing, and then we're defining thing as whack, and then we're saying test is now whack, and now we can create a so we had thing for whack, and then whack is now test, or a test is now whack, and then I can make a test. Yeah. So these are all compatible. These are all the same. But it's basically, it seems like these are just a slightly more inconvenient thing, maybe. Can get more ugly with complex types. So we're saying type define integer as a fucking what? A pointer to a function type, but I don't know what the hell function type is. The syntax for type defs can be ugly with more complex types. For example, here's a hard to read type def along with an equivalent and slightly easier to read type alias. So we say, hey, type define integer as this shit. The fuck is that? But now we could say instead, or type define this as what the fuck? Type define integer pointer to function type something, and somehow function type is the thing that we're actually using. Instead, we could just say, hey, same shit, using function type is integer. I don't know what this fucking multiplier guy is, this multiplication operator, double character. So it's a pointer to a function that takes a double and a character, and that returns. So maybe it's an int. Is this a pointer to an int returning function that takes a double and a character parameter? The name of the new type is buried in the middle of the definition. How is it even buried in the middle of the definition? Whereas in the type alias, the name of the new type is separate. Yeah, they're separated. Yeah, that makes sense. We're saying, hey, we're using this for that instead of, hey, we're defining this as now this, and there's no equal sign, and maybe other stuff gets crazy. Oh! Oh, do my eyes look dead? I can't see. Oh, well, I mean, I can see, but I can't see myself. I don't have it open. But, oh my god. Okay. That's it for learning today. Somehow that was an hour. Wait, is that an hour? Holy shit, that was fast. Speed ran. I probably yapped for 10 extra minutes, though. That was stupid. But, it is what it is. I'm going to let that percolate in the brain, and I'll do an hour of some testathon. But once that fucking the groceries gets here, I'm putting the shampoo in the shower. I'm putting the extra damn spinach in the fridge, the cans of tomato sauce, the ground beef, the iron supplements away, and I think that is it. And then I'm probably going to fucking sleep. I went to bed at like 1 something when I usually am in bed at 11:05 ish. So 2+ hours late. And I think I couldn't sleep for a little bit. Maybe not so. No, not so. I probably went to sleep and fell asleep somewhere. Oh, it was probably, I think about 1:20 actually, because I had to. What did I do? I walked around for a little while. I was brushing my teeth, and I walked and did another little prep for the interview today. Another presentation out loud. And then afterwards, what did I do? Well, yeah, I fucking went to sleep. Then it was 1:20, but then instead of waking up at 7 and getting oh my god. Instead of going to bed at 1:20 and waking up at 7 on time and getting a shitty, terrible ass 5 hours and 40 minutes of sleep, I fucking woke up at like just after 6. So I got like 4 hours and 40 minutes of sleep or something. Just terrible. What am I fucking yapping for, bro? Let's get to testing.